Should I go ahead and get started? Okay. Oh, thank you. And Shabbat Shalom. Thank you again for waiting. I want to go ahead and get started so I can be mindful of everyone's time as far as getting ready to start service at 11. But first, I wanted to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for the gift of life. I thank you for the gift of your word. Thank you for the opportunity right now to speak your word. I ask that you speak through me and that your message is conveyed the way that you want it to be, accurately, speaking to whoever needs it, Lord. I thank you for all you do, have done, and will do. I thank you for this time of fellowship. We give you all praise, glory, and honor. Just ask that your presence be here with us. We love you, and it's in your mighty name that I pray. Amen. So this morning, my topic is, are you sure about that? And I feel like a lot of times we have asked God in some way, shape, or form, are you sure about that? So I wanted to start with Moses. And we'll look in Exodus. We meet up with Moses after he has murdered someone and has gone off into the wilderness, has started his own life, and now he is just living rogue, feeling good. Well, that's when he encounters God in the bush. And God tells him, you know, I'm choosing you to deliver our people from slavery. And that's are you sure about that? Because do you know who I am? I just murdered a guy there. You want me to go back and deliver the people? They don't even like me. So it was a moment of he's going and he's telling Moses, I want you to deliver. I want you to be the one to step up. And because we have that doubt, God reminds us in our own doubts that he affirms who he is and his decisions. And he has a very I said what I said moment. We look at, as he's telling Moses what to do, and he's showing them the sign of the staff and everything. He's like, I got you. Trust me, I got you. Moses is still like, but you know, I have this speech problem, and you sure you want me? And God says in verse 11 in chapter 4, the Lord said to him, this is the NIV version, the Lord said to him, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Again, yes. Chapter 4, Exodus. It's Exodus, chapter 4, verse 11. And God's telling him, like, I've created you all. I already know who you are. I already know who you are. I know you have that speech problem. I gave it to you. But I still want you to use it to deliver your people. And he reminds us that he makes no mistake in who he calls. The Creator knows exactly who he created. So when he calls us to serve him, it's a plan we don't need to act as if he is unaware of. That he already knows that we're flawed. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be full of pride, but know God is with us and knows our every flaw. And then we go on to a situation like we are now with Gideon. As we've been talking about Gideon, we have his moment of God coming to him and saying, my mighty warrior, I want you to go out here and deliver, basically. And Gideon's like, hold on, you sure about that? I don't know, like, Lord, if this is you, I just want to put the blanket outside or the mat outside, and if it's you, you'll keep that dry and make the ground around it wet. And God's like, all right, let me humor you. And he does it. He's like, wow. Well, that could have just been a coincidence. So this time, make the mat wet and then the ground around it dry. And God's like, this kid, okay, here I go. Because we see ourselves one way, and we talked about how he was like, my family, me of all people in my family at that? You want me? Because we look at ourselves in one way, we will automatically disqualify ourselves which can make it hard for us to believe God is calling us for something greater or to walk out his will. And then there are times where God decides he will entertain our doubts to reassure us that it is him and it's not just some fairy dust in my brain telling me. But then we also have, on the other spectrum of this, our buddy Jonah. And we actually meet Jonah in 2 Kings, and he's a prophet at that time. And just so we can bring him up in 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 25, it says, let me go back up. And now, some of these names, I'm going to probably destroy it. But he was one who restored the boundaries of Israel from Lebo Hamath to the Dead Sea, in accordance with the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, spoken through his servant Jonah, son of Amittai, the prophet from Gath Hepher. So we meet Jonah initially in 2 Kings as a prophet. But then when you go into Jonah, it immediately goes into God saying, I need you, Jonah, to pack your bags and head over to Nineveh, because these people are out of control, and I need you to send them a message. And I don't even think Jonah gave him are you sure about that initially. I think Jonah just said, you know what? I'm going to pack my bags all right, but it's not to go to Nineveh. So he goes off to wherever he's trying to go. Is it Tarshish? He goes off to Tarshish. And on the boat, he's just relaxing. God turns out, he's like, you know what? Let's go ahead and have a storm come on. Let's get the storm going. And as he's relaxing, laid back, the people of the ship are like, what in the world is going on right now? What is happening? Something has to be going on for this to happen. They find out it's Jonah. And Jonah's like, just throw me overboard. Get it over with. Because if anything's better than going to Nineveh. So he gets thrown over and God gets him swallowed in a fish. And I guess it's kind of like his time out. You got to sit about and think about this. Because I've talked to you before. And you just wanted to be disobedient. So in that time of him waiting, he decides, all right, I'm going to be obedient and go to Nineveh. I'm going to spread this word. He gets there, and he says his word, and he's just like, I bet God is going to forgive them. I bet he is. Turn around, God's like, I think we're going to forgive them. They repented. They turned from their way. I'm going to forgive them. And he's like, what do you mean? Are you sure about that? Do you not see how these people are acting? That's his, are you sure about it? Because he's like, I knew you were going to do this. And it's actually funny because, I don't know, I personally kind of laugh and chuckle when I read this part of Jonah. But in Jonah chapter 4, let me see which verse. Let me make sure I have the right verse. Chapter 3, verse 10. And I wanted to use the Tree of Life version. In chapter 4, starting at verse 1, he says, but after God decides, I'm going to forgive them, he says, but it greatly displeased Jonah, and he resented it. So he prayed to Adonai and said, please, Lord, was this not what I said when I was in my own country? Like, I was just at home, minding my business. You came to me, and you mean to tell me, he said, I knew that you are a gracious God, slow to anger and full of kindness and relenting over calamity. And God is just like, is it good for you to be so angry? Like, why are you so angry at a decision I'm making? Why do you think you know better than I do? Why is it that you feel it's okay for me to be gracious to you or to anyone else, but you see it, it's like when you see how they're acting, you see how they've been, are you sure you want to forgive them? And God's like, am I not, you just said I'm a God that's gracious and forgiving. Don't they deserve it as well?
You know, and sometimes, even in our walk of faith, if someone is not, if someone's not living up to our
Mm-hmm.
interpretation
Mm-hmm.
of what the instructions are,
Mm-hmm.
we wonder, why do they prosper?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, why did that happen for them and not me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
It is a lot of times where we will sit and look at others, especially those of faith, and we're like, do you not see them? You mean to tell me you're letting them off the hook? And God, too many times, is saying to us, how many times have I let you off the hook? How many times have I made it so that you can still be doing what you're doing? Because your choices, you could have ended up a lot worse than what you're doing. But here I am being gracious to you. And a lot of times we disagree with God because of our humanly view on it. And he's already told us, my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. But yet we still want to be adamant about, Lord, hear me out. Hear me out. And I don't think you see everything that's going on, but they're over there doing this. You sure you don't want to punish them? And he's like, no, because I could be doing the exact same thing to you.
I know some of us, myself, quick to say, but that's not fair.
Yep.
That's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Every time I do that, God is, it's like a thing goes off. It's like, really? We're talking about fair right now? And it's like, okay. All right. I see where you're going with this. But Jonah shows us that Jonah ignored God's calling, and even in his disobedience, God still called him to deliver his message. So even in his disobedience, he didn't sit there and say, well, you know what, I'll just find another prophet. He was like, I'll let you sit in timeout for a while, but you're still taking your tail to Nineveh because I need you to do this. But also, Jonah disagreed with God's decision to show mercy and became angry. He thought his own judgment was better than God's. Our judgment can't and doesn't compare to what God's judgment is. But I also want to go back to the beginning with Sarah. She had her, are you sure about that moment, when she was told, well, basically eavesdropping on the conversation with the two men and Abraham, and they were saying Sarah will give birth to a son. And she's out there chuckling. And the men heard her, or God heard her, and they're like, why are you laughing? Oh, I didn't laugh. But in her mind, she's like laughing because, are you sure about that? Do you see how old I am? You're telling me I'm having a kid? But even in that old age, God still blessed her. God still kept his promise with what he was saying. And because of her old age and lack of being able to give birth before, Sarah couldn't believe she would have a son. We may feel like it is too late for us to fulfill purpose because of our age, our circumstances, or whatever. But God doesn't run on our timeline. So it doesn't matter what the timeline looks like to us. Because at her old age, she's just like, are you sure? Like, do you see how old this guy is? He's older than I am, and you telling me I'm having a kid with him? Like, do you see him? Abraham is like old. And now you're telling me I'm old with them, and you're saying I'm having a baby? But God kept his promise. And that's how it always is. No matter what the circumstance looks like for us, God is going to keep his promise to see it through. But then to fast forward to the New Testament and looking at Paul on the way to Damascus, and he was tearing people down. He was like, I'm ready. I'm roaring to tear somebody down, but God stopped him. And he's like, what are you doing? You're persecuting me. Well, that's when he goes blind. He goes off. Can't remember exactly the city off the top of my head. But he goes off and he reaches out to Ananias. And he's like, Ananias, I got an assignment for you, buddy. And he's like, all right, cool, what? I need you to go talk to that guy, Saul. Which Saul? Like Bethlehem Saul? Like, because I know you can't possibly be talking about the Saul that's tearing us down right now. It's like, I can't, you gotta be, it's gotta be a different area than that one. It's gotta be somewhere else. Like Saul of, I don't know. Is he from Egypt? I don't know. It can't possibly. Are you sure? That Saul, that guy, do you see what he's doing to your people? Are you sure you want him to be the one that I talk to? Are we having a miscommunication right now? And God is telling him, nope, this guy, I want you to talk to him. Take care of him because I have some plan for him. Luckily, Ananias didn't pull a Jonah, and he went and did what he was supposed to do. But based on what Ananias heard about Saul and the things that he was doing, locking people up, even basically getting them killed, he didn't see he couldn't understand why God would choose him, of all people, to serve a purpose. Because that's the same guy that's persecuting you. That's the same guy that's tearing you down, and your people and your followers down. Why do you want him? But based on the fear of it, he questioned God. But God reminds us that even those that don't look like they will be the ones to serve him, he can still use them. And there's been plenty of times where you've seen people that you're like, I could have sworn this person was doing X, Y, and Z, acting crazy. And they've done a whole 360, well, really 180. Right. And now they're serving God. But that's a lot of us. There's a lot of times where we can look back on our past and someone can say, that person's serving God, God's using them. So it's just a matter of being mindful of when God calls you, be obedient, and don't allow your circumstances or your opinion or your view to cloud that. Because he had like we said, his thoughts are not our thoughts, his ways are not our ways. So that was the me teaching portion, but I wanted to do some back and forth talking about it. What other characters do you all think could have a are you sure about, or have had a are you sure about that moment?
Any of the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
Any of them, because a lot of times, even in our lives, we got to remember we're just vessels.
Mm-hmm.
We're just vessels. Now we get into what society and our friends, and we get into what people say about us, and we just have to remember we're nothing more than a vessel. Mm-hmm. And going back on something that you had said, because we're going to get into that with Gideon today. Mm-hmm. We got to remember, we got to stay humble when he uses us, because mm-hmm. he qualifies the call. Mm-hmm. See, right, in and of ourselves, we do, me? Don't you remember I did thus and such, or I didn't do thus and such? But we are willing vessels, mm-hmm. most of the time. Mm-hmm. We want to be used of him, but we got to remember when the accolades come, and it's okay. It's, if you saved my life from drowning or choking, I'm gonna thank you, and I'm grateful mm-hmm. that you were willing to act. You might have been afraid, I might hurt him, I might kill him, and some would say good, but this thing even with Gideon and the others, we all have to be careful that we don't slide in because of what's said about us or what's thought about us. Because he says, and I'm going to give this up, he says, my glory I will share with no other. But sometimes as believers, we kind of want to pull just a little bit for ourselves because it feels good. We want to be appreciated. We want to be what we call loved. We want to, and I'm not saying that those things are good, but we gotta be careful because we can kind of get puffed up.
Yeah, and at some point, it becomes less about God and more about yourself at that point. Because then are you doing it for God or are you doing it for your own glory?
Right. And even in what we call my ministry, I got to get my ministry started. Huh? Who did Sam Hill or you? You know, I mean, but really, I mean, you run into people all the time. Oh, I've got to fly to Russia. Is that what you're gonna do, or is that how you're being directed? And again, I'm not throwing shade, but I'm saying it is a life-changing experience. But remember, when he anoints you to do whatever, it's him using us as a vessel.
Right.
You know, it's like a lot of times. When Yeshua was coming into town, that donkey might have thought that people were laying those things down for him. And what I'm saying is, when he uses us and the Shekinah is upon us, it lifts. And then what? We return to ourselves. And that's what we got to remember. Because a lot of times, like I said, when you do something and it's wonderful and it's great and people get blessed, and it is nice to be appreciated, but we got to be careful because we can get the big head, and that's when we can say, well, why are you blessing them? I don't even like them. You hear? I don't even like. Well,
yeah,
I'm not God. Yeah,
it's like I got nothing to do with you.
Oh no! You the wrong one. He's like, Barry, am I him or are you me? You know, so we've got a. I know John got. Okay. Like you said.
And that can go with, that's like with Jonah's attitude towards it. It's like, Lord, do you see how the people of Nineveh are acting? Why would you want to forgive them? And it's like they took the time to hear the message, repent, and try to change their ways. So God's like, I'll give them another chance. But come on now, Lord. Why? Do you see them? And it's like, Jonah, I could have left you in the fish. I could have just left you there. But I need you to deliver a message because you were disobedient from the start. Jonah didn't even attempt to do what God asked him to do. He just was like, I'm out. Don't use me. But then it's like when God forgave him, it was okay.
With the same measure you meet, it'll be, see, because sometimes we are hard when it comes to people we don't know, we don't understand. We can be real, we can be very judgmental, we can want to help the Most High out, which if he wants us, he'll call us. But sometimes we want to step up and I got this.
Yeah.
It seems like, have you ever been in a situation and you're waiting on God. You're just waiting. I know I've been in those situations that you're just waiting on Him to deliver you out of this thing that you're in. I'm waiting. Not only am I waiting, I got people on my side saying, just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on. And then all of a sudden, you just haul off and say, hey, listen, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm going to take matters into my own hands, because what we're actually saying is, Lord, you're moving too slow. It takes a while to understand and to learn that His time is not our time. And so as you wait on Him, guess what is building up? Patience. We have to have patience. Okay, that's it, what I had to say.
This one died. But that's funny because every time I have my moments where it's like, all right, God, I got this. You sit back there. You ain't got to worry about it. Go bless somebody else. I got this. I got this. God is just like, do you really? It's like, no, I don't. I'll wait. But this, I'm gonna fuss about it, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna just deal with it. And then recently, I had not so much a Jonah moment, but I had I wouldn't say Ananias moment. I had an angel moment. I was at work and working on a project that required a lot of hands in the pot. And I'm one of those people that if I've already said I've done something and you keep kind of poking at it, now I'm getting irritated and I don't want to be bothered with you kind of thing. It was one of those situations. The person was just like, yeah, but did you let them know this? I've told you, I've said everything. Now I'm getting frustrated and now I'm going to fuss. And so like I do those little nice, nasty emails that you do, those little professional emails you send out that's like really like, as my last email, that kind of thing. I had one of those moments. And so I am thinking, and it's like, it was other people on the email, and other people were like, yeah, she was being really rude and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Not too long afterwards, I'm talking to another colleague that's also a friend of mine. And after I hang up the phone with her about it, guy was like, yeah, go ahead and write that apology email. I'm like, me? Why me? I had prior to this, I had talked to my manager about it, and she was like, take the higher road. And I'm like, yeah, of course you're going to say that. It's like God was speaking through her, say, take the higher road. Like, just handle it differently. And what God was telling me was like, all right, you keep praying for growth. You keep praying to go do this, do that, do all these things. You realize that requires you to work with other people. That requires you to work with different personalities and know how to manage your own emotions and manage yourself and how you respond to things. So go ahead and type up the email and respond. I did. She still had one of her moments where it was kind of like, yeah, but like I said with this, and it's like, thank you for your help with this. Thank you. You know what? You're right. Thank you so much for your help with this. But it was God really pressing on me, because I know if it was on my own accord, I would have left it at don't say anything else to her. From now on, when she emails you, just ignore. Because it's one of those things where I will provide you information, but you need the proof that I did whatever I said. You can't just go off of me saying, I did this. So that's making me angry. And God's like, well, when you work with people, you now have to deal with stuff you don't like. And so God convicted me, and I was like, great. But are there any other moments? Yeah.
And you know, also in that, the main thing with us, I'm talking about as believers, because unbelievers, they don't have a clue. But believers is that we have to get the flesh out of the way. Mm-hmm. Flesh is enmity towards God. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times we have to submit to God, and it might feel like a humiliating moment for you. You feel like you the big red sore thumb stuck out there all by yourself, and it's so humiliating, but it's killing the flesh. Because that's what this walk is all about. It's this stuff gotta die daily. It's no good thing in it. And so anything that's good for this is against God, straight up. And so that situation, that was dealing with that flesh, making that flesh die.
Yep.
You know, and so we all have to have those moments if we're going to grow, if we're going to go in the path of the destiny that God has for you. We're gonna have to deal with that stuff. That's part of the walk.
That is, like you've said before, it's better to be obedient the first time. And so even with doing Insight, I remember I came to one Insight, and as I was sitting there watching, I forgot who was teaching that day, but I was watching them teach. God was like, yeah, go ahead and sign up. And it's like, I'm just here to watch and listen. I'm not here to get up there. That's not for me. Like, hold on. But that's where I did my first, after I did my first one, and it's funny because after I'd finished the first one and went to go sit down, it was like, are you ready for the next one? And it's like, no, I'm not, because I thought this was a one-time thing. You just want me to do this one time to get that baby out of here, and then what do you mean? So, but working on being obedient, I'm working on not being a Jonah, because I've been famous for being a Jonah, where God tells me to go one way, and I'm like, well, guess what? Going another way, buddy. Going the other way. I don't think this is for me. Do you see what's going on over here? And I think we do that a lot of times. We look at a situation because we don't like it, because it doesn't really fit our agenda, because it doesn't look like what we want it to look like. So we tell God, maybe this is a mistake. Maybe this is you just not really looking at the whole picture, Lord, because I know you can see everything, but are you missing a speck in the corner? Because it's a lot of times where we're just asking God, like, are you really seeing this whole for what it is? But it's for us to be obedient, because when he calls you, you got to answer, because the phone is just going to keep ringing. So that is my little teaching on, are you sure about that? But are we sure we're listening to God and following directions? But also, are we sure we're not questioning God's decisions? So, Shabbat Shalom.